All right, guys, good morning. It is 5 a.m. I've been up for a few minutes trying to figure out the camera, but welcome to another video, day in the life, prep update, giving you an insight into some of the things that I'm dealing with and hopefully give you some value. I mentioned in my last video that I've been having trouble with my digestion. I believe that stems from a few things. Number one, calories are very low. Number two, stress is very high in terms of the diet fatigue that's accumulating. Number three, we made a few changes to the diet that actually dropped fiber a little bit. So we've switched that up. We pulled fruit from one of the meals. So what I've actually done is swapped out some of my rice to have more berries so I can get more soluble, insoluble fiber, more minerals and vitamins. And for me, when I have fruit in the diet, my digestion tends to be better. And over the last couple of days, that's actually had a really big improvement. I think the biggest issue that I ran into was because I was struggling with my sleep, I tried a megadose melatonin protocol. Now, megadosing melatonin is very well studied. I went up to 50 milligrams a day. It actually improved my sleep to a very large degree. Melatonin is also something that helps people with IBS. I have dealt with IBS in the past, but the issue is now, given the context of everything that I'm doing in my prep, melatonin can slow gastric emptying, which means the contents of the stomach entering the digestive tract, it slows down. So after about 2-3 days, I actually went 2 days without pooping. That's a problem because last prep that I did, I ran into some very serious digestive issues and I knew what I had to do because I've had it before. So what I'm gonna do is, this is the first thing I do when I wake up. I get my supplements together and I prepare a drink specifically to help soothe my gut. There's a few different ingredients in here and we're gonna go into them one by one. So the main drink here, I have a water bottle filled with 750 mLs of water. What we're gonna do here, we're gonna add the first ingredient, which is whole leaf aloe vera juice. Aloe vera is very soothing for the gut. It also helps to lubricate the gut lining and help to improve motility. So we're gonna go ahead and zero the scale and we're gonna add in 250 milliliters of aloe vera juice. I try to be as accurate with the measurements, but I mean, that was 268. It's not a big deal. The next ingredient we're gonna do is glutamine. Glutamine used to be like, people think, oh, glutamine's gonna build a ton of muscle. It doesn't build a ton of muscle. What it does is it's a conditionally essential amino acid that helps to actually rebuild the gut lining and help your gut absorb a little bit better. So if you're dealing with any sort of leaky gut, anything of that nature, glutamine is a fantastic supplement. I typically will supplement with 10 grams in the morning, 10 grams at night. But now, since we ran into the digestive issues, I've increased that to 20 grams in the morning, 20 grams at night. And then the usual 10 grams that I have during training, I've bumped that to 20 grams as well. So we're gonna go ahead and do 20 grams of glutamine. Now, in terms of brands, Olivia and I are sponsored by a company called TC Nutrition, which is fantastic. The quality of their supplements is amazing. But since we moved to the US, it's a little bit tougher to get. And we actually ran out. So we're just using NutriCost. Taurine. Taurine is a fantastic supplement when it comes to liver health, liver metabolism, and your liver is very, very impactful on your digestion. So I do 3 grams, 1 scoop, 3 times a day, and that has definitely made a big difference. It also improves cellular hydration. So when you are in a prep and water is just running through you, it can actually help you maintain your hydration levels. The next is Himalayan salt. So first thing in the morning, Himalayan salt, I do a 1/4 teaspoon. That's for adrenal function. So when you're dieting, your adrenal function will change. Because you're high stress, there's a lot of cortisol, and cortisol can have some negative effects on digestion. So what we're trying to do here is we're trying to ramp up our adrenal function and obviously hydration, electrolytes. And then this electrolyte blend from NutriCost is actually a very high potassium electrolyte blend. So potassium, again, can help to speed digestion. We also need a 3-to-1 balance of potassium to sodium. So if I'm doing a lot of sodium in my drink, I like to supplement with something that's a little bit higher in potassium. So I just do 1 scoop of this, and I'll have between 3 to 4 scoops of this a day. And I do a 1/4 teaspoon of salt with all of my meals, and a 1/4 teaspoon of salt pre and during my workout. The other thing we're gonna do is amino acids. This isn't my favorite amino acid, but again, we ran out of our AminoLite. I ran through AminoLite in a previous video, but TC Nutrition AminoLite is amazing. It's my preferred amino acid supplement because it has a great hydration blend as well. But this, the essential amino acids, is just to kind of kick us out of our fasting state. It also tastes amazing, and all of these ingredients together kind of taste like hot garbage. So we're going to do that. So this is our first drink. The next drink we're gonna do, we get another shaker cup here. This is empty. One of the things that happens when you diet is your stomach acid actually comes down. That high cortisol level will decrease your stomach acid, and the stomach is where, well, the mouth is where digestion starts, but the stomach is where the majority of the breakdown of the nutrients happens, so that when it enters the gut, it can be absorbed through the gut lining. In order to ramp up our stomach acid, we are going to do two things. We're going to do a pure lemon juice, which is not from concentrate. We're going to do one tablespoon, so 15 grams, or sorry, 1 ounce, which is 36 grams. And then we're also going to do 1 ounce of apple cider vinegar. Apple cider vinegar is a type of bitter. It's also fantastic for your gut health. So I'll actually do this 3 times a day, usually with my post-workout meal, and then again with my last meal of the day. I definitely notice decreases in bloating, and my digestion is drastically improved with this. Now, because the vinegar is basic and the lemon juice is acidic, we don't want to drink this straight up because it can actually burn our esophagus and be a little bit too strong. So I'll take a few sips of my drink, and then I will hammer this like a shot, and then I will finish my drink. Okay, so get that in. Oh, I go ahead and chug this, and what we'll do next, we'll go over some of the supplements I take first thing in the morning for fat loss. I forgot one of the most important ingredients. This is when I take my creatine monohydrate. Again, TC Nutrition, and I'll mix this in with the big drink. Creatine monohydrate is a staple supplement. It's fantastic. You know, initially it was primarily used for muscle building, but in power output, because the creatine phosphate system is responsible for ATP synthesis or energy metabolism within the first 10 seconds of exercise. So by increasing creatine storage, we can actually increase power output, increase the stimulus of our training. The other thing it's fantastic for is intracellular hydration. That secondary benefit of intracellular hydration is fantastic for cognitive health. And then we have to remember that all of our cells are undergoing metabolism. The cells of our brain, the cells of our organs, the cells of our heart, all these things are really important. But creatine is being heavily studied right now in cognitive function in older adults with dementia, aging, things like that. So creatine is something that I recommend that all of my clients take all year round, all the time. All right, so my trusty little cup here, and we're gonna run through some of the fat loss supplements. So in this cup already, I have 4 pills. I have 2 pills of magnesium, so about 600 milligrams of magnesium. I have 100 milligrams of L-theanine, which will help kind of stabilize some of the stimulants that we're going to take right now. And then I have 2 caps of nattokinase. Nattokinase is a fantastic supplement for your heart. It's also anti-inflammatory, and it's something that I have in all year round. First thing we're going to do is Yohimbine. Yohimbine is a fantastic fat loss supplement where it works best fasted. So if you're taking your Yohimbine and then you're eating any carbohydrates or you're spiking insulin, it doesn't really work. So in the absence of insulin, it can be a fantastic lipolysis agent. Think about caffeine, think about Clenbuterol, think about all the stimulant fat burners that you're taking as pressing the gas pedal on fat loss or lipolysis. Yohimbine is taking the foot off the brake because there's multiple receptors on the fat cells, and this actually will allow us to benefit from the lipolytic effects of our supplement, of our fat loss supplements a little bit better. So again, Clenbuterol is going to put the foot on the gas. Yohimbine is going to take the foot off the brake. With that said, the next thing we're gonna do is we've got our Clenbuterol. So Clenbuterol is a fat loss agent that actually is asthma medication for horses, but bodybuilders have been using it for decades because it increases lipolysis through stimulating the adrenal receptors. And what we're going to do here, we're going to do 100 micrograms, which is the highest I will ever go. We're in the tail end of prep. This will come down as we get into peak week, but for now it's at 100 micrograms, and just use a dropper, it's a liquid. The next supplement we're gonna take is T3, so thyroid hormone. I actually have a prescription for thyroid medication, and I take 25 micrograms year round. I'm clinically hypothyroid, so during prep, one of the things that I deal with a lot is a slowed thyroid function, so I don't absorb my T3 and T4 as well. So we've ramped up from 25 to 37, and now we're at 50 micrograms a day. So we're gonna add that. The next is T4. So typically I will take 150 micrograms of T4 per day year round, but during prep, again, because thyroid function changes as you diet, we've ramped that up to 200. The other one is Aromasin. Aromasin is an anti-estrogen medication that, again, I take year round with my TRT. I tend to convert a lot of my testosterone to estrogen. That has stayed the same all year round. I take 6.25 milligrams per day. Typically it's dosed 25 milligrams a couple times a week or 12 milligrams a couple times a week. I keep that really, really low because I find that keeps my estrogen in a good place. The next supplement we are going to take is 5-amino-1-MQ, which is a peptide. This fat loss peptide is new to me. I'm still learning about it, but from my understanding, it inhibits one of the enzymes that can slow fat loss in a diet phase. So it essentially unlocks your metabolism to some degree within the mitochondria. Then we have SLUPP332. We're gonna take 75 micrograms of that, or 750 micrograms of that. That is upregulating our mitochondrial metabolism. It's also called an exercise mimetic. So what it does, essentially, people will say that it creates this like pseudo exercise environment. I'm not necessarily sure I believe that, but it's been working fantastic. Again, new to me, still learning about it. And we're gonna do a deep dive video on the peptides during this prep phase. I'll prepare for that. We'll do that in front of the computer so I can share a little bit more research. Lastly, modafinil. So modafinil is a narcolepsy medication, but one of the benefits, well, I have a prescription for modafinil because I have sleep apnea, and because my sleep's been so poor, I've been taking just 50 milligrams a day for cognitive function, and I felt that it's kept me a lot more sharp and able to show up for my clients the way that I need to. That's it. That's our morning stack. So I'm gonna put this down, take these droppers, and we'll be good to go. All right, last piece. You thought we were done. We're not done. We have L-carnitine. L-carnitine is one of my favorite supplements. The benefits of L-carnitine are so far-reaching that it honestly deserves its own video, and we're gonna make one. But L-carnitine is one of the compounds that is essential for transporting fatty acids from the cell into the mitochondria. So we have the SLUPP332, we have the 5-amino-1-MQ, all up-regulating mitochondrial metabolism, and then we're supporting nutrient transport into the mitochondria with the injectable L-carnitine. The next thing we're gonna do is SS31. SS31 is a new peptide to me, like the 5-amino-1-MQ. From my understanding, SS31 improves the turnover of your mitochondria. So if they're working harder, you want to be able to support mitochondrial biogenesis, which means the mitochondria regenerating themselves. And SS31 helps with that. So I take 10 milligrams of that per day. The carnitine, I take 850 milligrams per day. And then the final piece of the puzzle is retatrutide. Retatrutide is a GLP-1 drug. It is a 5th generation GLP-1 drug because it stimulates the GLP-1 receptor, the GIP receptor, and then the glucagon receptor on the liver. So it actually improves liver metabolism of glucose and can help upregulate metabolism. It's been fantastic. The other thing it does is it decreases hunger, and it actually can improve cognitive function. So what I found, including the retatrutide within this prep, I haven't had the food noise. I haven't had cravings. I'm still able to eat my food. I'm still able to, do the things that I need to do, but it's just made it easier. And I think there's also a tremendous amount of benefits around improving your insulin metabolism, your pancreatic function. I actually notice an improvement in my digestion when I use retatrutide, and that's why it's in there. So we got 0.25 milligrams per day, which is 0.25 milligrams a week, which is actually still below where someone who is diabetic or obese would be prescribed by their doctor. So we're really microdosing this. We don't need much to get the desired effects. So I'm gonna go ahead and pin these not on camera. And then what we're gonna do, we're gonna run through the plan for the day. All right, so we're sat here in front of the desk at the workstation because my routine is I wake up and I start working. Cheers. So today is pretty cool. When I decided that I was going to diet with Liv, I wanted to just start dieting. And we found this place nearby that actually did mobile Dexa scans. So it's like a mobile home that has a Dexa scan machine in it. For those of you who aren't familiar with a Dexa scan, it is the most reliable form of body fat measurement. It can give your body fat based on your whole body fat. It'll give you your muscle mass. It'll give you your water mass. It'll give you your bone density. It'll give you some indications based on like lean mass and height. It can compare you to norms. It'll also give you like left arm, right arm comparisons, right leg, left leg, appendicular versus peripheral. So it'll give you a lot of different measurements of your body fat distribution and different body composition metrics. And it's very accurate. So we each bought two. And on May 18th, 2025, which, we are August 8th, I did my Dexa scan and I was curious because, I was already pretty lean when starting the diet. So I started my diet weighing 231 pounds. And according to the Dexa scan, I was 12.1% body fat. I am very curious as to what my body fat percentage is at this stage in prep. I am 8 days out, so I don't think I'm gonna get significantly leaner in terms of body fat percentage within the next week. There's probably gonna be some shifting of fluid, like water manipulation, but as of this morning, I was 207.4. So we're talking about 24 pounds of fat of loss, and I'm very curious as to what body fat percentage I am. So we're actually gonna go do that this morning. So what the plan is for the day, I'm gonna get a little bit of work done. It is 5:30 because it took me so long to film my morning supplements, which honestly made me feel like a science experiment. But I'm gonna get a little bit of work done for the next hour. Then I'm going to do my cardio, eat breakfast, and then I'll catch you on the way to go get the Dexa and hopefully be able to get that on film for you if the guy's up for letting me film. So that's the plan for the day, and we'll talk to you soon. All right, just got here. Gonna grab my Dexa scan. So this is called Biosum, and it is a mobile fitness testing facility, and we're gonna go get a Dexa scan and see how fat we are. I guess like 5.3. So, where are we? What's your business? Because this is really, really freaking cool.
Okay, we are at Biosum, our mobile fitness lab, and we just did a Dexa scan for Mr. Paul.
Yep. What is a Dexa scan? Because I gave a bit of a rundown in my intro to the video, but
so a Dexa scan is an X-ray. So you may have heard about bone density scans in the past, where you're looking at bone density for particularly hip and spine. That is actually kind of graduated into, we can actually look at all three different densities within the human body: fat, muscle, and bone.
Cool.
So what this does is it still does bone density as well, but now we're able to get full body composition, muscle, fat, bone, also visceral fat, as well as muscle balance, and still get bone density as well. So
very
that's
cool.
What we're doing today.
So I went over my results from last time where I was 231 pounds and 12.1%. Current weight was 207 fasted this morning. We just weighed in after breakfast and some water, and I'm sitting at 213.6. Very surprised at the results. It came back as 9.9%. So that means I only dropped 3% body fat.
That's 3% is a big drop. So the other thing that we were chatting about a minute ago is particularly like those that do competitions. They're used to hearing numbers like, oh, you're 6% competition ready. You're 4% competition ready. My dad and I both did competitions. I got on stage and they told me I was 10% for a figure, and I did Miss America WBFA. I was 10%. I was not 10%. I was about 16%. The reason that we think that we're actually lower than we are is a couple of reasons. Is one, we're using calipers. We've been using calipers for the last 30, 40 years, and we're just looking at subcutaneous fat. That's not taking into account visceral fat. We carry visceral fat in our gut. We also carry it in our core, around our heart, around our shoulders, in our neck, and also it lines up like between every single muscle fiber in our body.
Yeah, so my head was 22% fat.
So that I like to look
there's
at
3 pounds of fat in your head. That's pretty much, you're not going to get rid of it. It's the gray matter between your ears that keeps you working.
Well, the other thing I was thinking about too is like we also still have essential fats, like the essential fats around your organ. That's like 4%.
And there's something to mention too when we talk about it's 9% or it's 11%. The actual percentage is a bit unknown. The only way to really figure that out would be like
is an autopsy.
An autopsy.
Oh. Well, I feel pretty close to that right now. So,
and you can't necessarily compare one machine to another machine because just the factory calibration settings and how the machine is, the software model it's using, they're going to vary between machines. So
there is an inherent error.
There is an inherent error of about 1%.
Okay, cool. Well, this was really eye-opening. I thought it would be way different. We were guessing at home that I'd be somewhere in the neighborhood of 6%, but yeah, wild. Well, I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Appreciate the education.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well. So, wow, that did not go at all like I thought it would. Pretty eye-opening. Definitely some things to think about. I'm going to go train. I'm gonna kind of put this up. I would be lying if I said I wasn't a little disappointed in the results, especially with how hard I've been working, how diligent I've been with my nutrition and my supplementation and my training. My training's been on point. I've been so strong all through prep, giving me every indication that I hadn't lost much, if any, lean mass. To see that I've lost almost 11 pounds is pretty significant. So I'm wondering if there's a reason behind that or if there's any triage to be done. But yeah, I'm just going to go train and enjoy myself. I have to go pick up some exercise equipment today for the garage. I'm going to get some plates, a barbell, maybe a trap bar. And then I will meet you guys back at home and we'll do a little bit of a breakdown of the results and, ask some questions, because ultimately that's all we can do. Use the data to ask questions, not get emotional about it, and look at it pragmatically. So we'll catch you in a little bit.
Good morning. So I promised you guys I would update you on the Dexa scan and give you like a complete rundown after I got home from the gym. But truth be told, I crashed. Yesterday was a really unproductive day from start to finish, and it's the first one I've had in prep, and I'm totally okay with it. So just to give you guys a rundown, when I did my testing on May 18th, body weight was 231 pounds, body fat percentage was 12.1, which I was pretty impressed with as far as starting a prep. Very, very good results for starting a prep. I mean, to be 231 at 12% body fat, there's a lot of lean mass there. So you're looking at a total lean body mass of 206.47, which means I have 206.5 pounds of lean mass at this point. When I got my testing done yesterday, to say that I was shocked was it'd be underselling how I felt. I was pretty disappointed, but in my heart of hearts, I knew that there was something up with it. And so what I did is I contacted a great friend of mine. His name is Dr. Mike T. Nelson. And Dr. Mike, he's a researcher. He's involved in a number of different health and fitness projects, incredible educator, and a great friend and resource to me. And I knew if anyone had an answer to discrepancies that I felt like I was seeing, it was him. And now I'm super glad that I called him because he cleared up a lot of those discrepancies. Now, if we look at the changes from test 1 to test 2, we had a fat mass decrease from 28.38 pounds to 21.54 pounds. So just shy of 7 pounds of fat loss. But then when we look at lean body mass, you're looking at from 197.46 lean body mass to 186.79. So 11 pounds. That was shocking. And if I took this at face value, I would honestly be really, really disappointed in myself. with the way that prep was handled. But, you know, to go from 12.1 to 9.9 in 2.5 months, that would really be disappointing, and especially with how hard I've been working. But beyond that, if we look objectively, it just doesn't make sense. Now, what do I mean by that? So there are a lot of things that we do during a prep for a bodybuilding show that prevent muscle loss. The first one being performance enhancing drugs. I am not secretive about my use of performance enhancing drugs. And, you know, I have been using them during this prep. In this video, I ran over some of the peptides that I've been taking. I've also been taking anabolic steroids. So the prospect of losing muscle mass while taking steroids is very, very low. You would have to dig extremely hard to see any muscle loss, let alone 11 pounds. The other proxy here is that my nutrition's been very good. I have been on point with my protein intake. I have been limiting my cardiovascular activity, keeping it under an hour a day, and I have been training my absolute balls off. And here is the biggest reason why I did not believe the test. I have been setting PRs in my training all the way up until last week, right? So all the way up until 2 weeks out, I was still getting stronger, still getting rep PRs. And it wasn't like, oh, I get 1 rep PR on this exercise and then this one goes down. It was literally the entire session was progression. And I attribute that to a number of factors. First and foremost is my training intensity. Number 2, my programming. Number 3, my ability to modify volume based on my level of fatigue. And number 4, my ability to attenuate fatigue outside of training and be able to relax and recover. If you look at muscle mass and training intensity as proxies of one another, there's no way that I lost muscle. So when I reached out to Dr. Mike, I told him the situation. He's like, oh man, that makes total sense. And I was like, how so? One thing that I did not know about the Dexa scan is that the Dexa scan measures total body water as lean mass. Now, why is that important? The circumstances around my first test, I was well hydrated. I was eating probably 400 to 450 grams of carbohydrates per day. Muscle glycogen was full. I wasn't in a depleted state. So that means that my muscle mass was holding a ton of water. Now, when I did the test yesterday, I woke up at 2:07 fasted, which was a 2.5 pound drop from the previous day, clearly dehydrated. I am much, much drier because I have less body fat, so I'm holding less water, and I'm eating very low carbohydrates, just over 100 grams of carbohydrates a day, so my muscle glycogen is depleted. And for those of you who don't know, muscle glycogen, for every gram of muscle glycogen, we store 4 grams of water. So at a 1-to-4 ratio. So if your muscle glycogen is very low, your muscle water content will also be very low. If you're dehydrated and you take a Dexa scan, you will show fat. You will show more fat. And I asked Mike if he had any real world examples of this, and he said, oh, absolutely. He had one of his colleagues, he did the Dexa scan, and then for the following 2 days, he ate between 500 and 600 grams of carbohydrates and hydrated excessively. Took the Dexa scan 2 days later and had gained 9 pounds of muscle mass and lost fat in 2 days. All of these measurements of body fat have inherent limitations. When you look at what used to be the gold standard, which was hydrostatic weighing was limited by your ability to actually exhale underwater because it made an assumption of residual lung volume, which calculated into your mass underwater. With the bod pod, it measures your density in air, but again, has to do with, there's a calculation for lung volume. There's also a number of assumptions based on body metrics and things of that nature, body surface area. If you look at calipers there's a lot of human error there. If you look at bioelectrical impedance, drastically impacted by hydration levels. And it's funny because I didn't remember until yesterday afternoon, but I did my body fat about 4 weeks out from my first show, and it showed me at 13%. I had veins everywhere. There's no way I'm 13%. At that point, I showed fatter than I did at the beginning of this prep, but when I look at pictures, drastic difference in body composition, but just because I was so depleted and dehydrated. So this is reassuring to me. I would venture a guess based on what I know about look, body fat percentage, and some experience. I would venture I'm around 6% body fat, which makes sense because essential fat in the body is about 3 to 4%. And essential fat meaning fat around organs, fat around joints, things of that nature, and your brain. So at 6%, I'm very happy. And when you look at the pictures, I'm very grainy. I'll add some progress video from posing after training here as well, so you guys can see what my composition looks like now. And yeah, so I really hope that this was a good insight for you. I thought it was a really interesting thought experiment to do. I learned a ton in the process, and doing DEXA scans is actually something that I'm going to continue to do probably once every 3 months, since it's so accessible here. It was under $100 to do, and because I bought a package. People at Biosum are amazing, and it's a phenomenal opportunity to gather data on me, especially as I move into this next stage of my training journey, which I'll talk about in a later video. So the next video we're going to film a Q&A. So if there are any questions that you would like to see, please drop them in the comments. In the meantime, make sure to like, share, subscribe, ring the bell for notifications, and I'll catch you on the next one. It's been a lot of fun so far sharing this journey with you, and I'm excited to continue to do it.